Well, hello everyone. How are you this afternoon? Awesome. My name is Al Gaines. I'm the Director of Enterprise Data Systems for MNPS. Our department manages our student information system, the data warehouse, and several other of our key enterprise systems. So obviously, with this implementation of a new student information system, we've been pretty attached to the hip to the Infinite Campus team and getting our new information system up and running. So we're here today to talk. These are basically roadshow events. This is the last event of a week full of doing roadshow events across the entire school district. And essentially what we're going to do today is tell you about ways that we are disseminating information, so the communication channels on what's going on with Infinite Campus, where you can plug in to get more details. We'll take a walkthrough of the Infinite Campus system, so you're not going to walk out of here as experts. This is not a training event, but what this is an opportunity for you to see what the interface actually looks like. We'll be in a training database. We'll click through some of the sections and areas of the system. We'll talk about some of the content that is there. We'll show you the parent-student portal. We'll talk about a few different areas, and then we'll close out on the tail end of that, going over the training plan and some other key dates for you to know about as we approach closer to the beginning of the school year, next school year. So just to hop right into it, this is that roadshow calendar that I was just talking about. We are now on the last roadshow of this week. And the important thing is that this particular event is also being recorded. So if there's someone in your building that did not have the opportunity to show, or you just wanted to get another helping of the roadshow events, you have an opportunity. We'll make this video available after we've had a chance to do a little bit of editing, and we'll post that on some of those same channels that we're about to talk about. So, Monday memo, that's one of the ways that we've been trying to communicate what's going on with this event and obviously other things that are happening in the district. So what you're seeing here on the screens is an example of basically a snippet from last week's Monday memo. That was the opportunity for you to sign up for some of these road shows. Check your email. We also are posting some information on our MNPS.org site, basically our internet site that is more generic in nature. Obviously, there are things that our staff need to know that are more internal specific. So we've also created an intranet page, and that will be the hub of communication. This is where if there are frequently asked questions, so those things that are coming from events like these and other events that we've plugged in with different groups, departments, or district meetings that are going on, as questions arise, we are taking those questions, aggregating them together, and placing them as frequently asked questions on this site. So check now, check later, keep coming back. There'll also be key details, key dates that are coming up, and other information, possibly links to other documentation or videos. So how did we get here? So we started an RFP process back in February of last year, and Infinite Campus won the bid for that RFP. In October of 2015, we basically had a project kickoff where we brought together everyone who participated in that process, along with any other stakeholders, and began the process of basically examining Infinite Campus for the first time. So to briefly talk about that, during the RFP process, we put together a collection of people from basically every job role throughout the district administrators, department heads, principals, assistant principals, guidance counselors, teachers, just about everyone that we could possibly think of who is a stakeholder in this system. We tried to put them together, and we came up with a laundry list of about 1,700 items that we wanted to see in our next student information system. It was a pretty exhaustive and detailed list. So this first chevron that you see here that's crossed out with the one in green that called Fit Gap, that process was the process by which we took that laundry list and put Infinite Campus up on the screen and said, this is the line item that we're looking at in Infinite Campus that's here, and let's take a walkthrough of what that looks like. As we got through the end of that list, we identified about 200 items where there were gaps, basically. It was, and the question there was, is that something that through our contract Infinite Campus can customize for us? Is that something that MNPS needs to take on? Is there a hybrid situation where it's something in tandem, or, you know, hindsight being 20/20, we really didn't need that feature anyway, and let's just move on. So, you know, the bottom line is we thought that this was a pretty good match overall, based on what we were looking for and what we received. So that moved us into practice and procedures. Essentially, change is change. So things may not always look exactly the same in this new system as it has been in PowerSchool SMS. So this is where we brought those same people, the department heads, the counselors, all of the people who have a stake in the system and are possibly in charge of one of those sections of the system, and basically ask the question, how will we do X inside Infinite Campus? Make sense? Okay, so with that, we basically compiled a lot of documentation and kind of rules of the road, which informed how we're going to do training, which is basically the stage we're in right now. So there are two topics there. Training, we'll talk about, basically we're just going to put a bookmark here, because after we finish the demonstration, we'll hop right into the actual training schedule. Excuse me, and now data conversion has also been going on for the last several months. So to briefly talk about that, what we've been doing is basically doing practice trials. We'll try 3 times before this process is over. And then the fourth conversion will be the actual conversion of all of the data that lives in PowerSchool SMS into its appropriate home inside Infinite Campus. So with each one of those trials, we've amassed a team of people that are technical and business in nature. So people from the schools, data specialists, developers, et cetera, taking a look at all of that data and basically saying, we expected this data here in PowerSchool SMS. This is what we actually see over here. They do match. Yes, we can move on. So we'll talk about this a couple more times as we go along, but we've asked some principals and other folks in their buildings to spot check this information to make sure that we are on par for what we want to see when we finally flip the switch and turn on Infinite Campus for good. So the couple of key dates, June 6th, and we'll talk about this more towards the end. June 6th will be the last day that PowerSchool SMS is up and running. And some more details in between, but we'll open up the new school year with Infinite Campus, and Infinite Campus will be online starting July 11th. So the July 11th will be the first day that everyone can get back into our student information system. And with that, I want to introduce to you Kelvin Beck, and I'll just step right away and allow him to introduce himself in more detail, and take it away, Kelvin.
Good afternoon. Everyone's having fun? Yeah. It's 3 o'clock, spring break. Why am I here? Awesome. Well, thank you all for coming to the Roadshow. Thank you for allowing us to speak with you about what's coming up and all the work that we've been doing. I am going to dive into the application a little bit and just show you how the application functions. Some people in the room here has seen the application before or have worked with us throughout the practice and procedure discussions as they continue. But what you're looking at, Infinite Campus is a single database for all users. And what that does for you is it allows information to be available to all end users, regardless of your title or role or what have you. But if you're a consumer that works for the district of student information, that information is available for you in real time. In real time means as soon as a person clicks the save button, that information is accessible to a person who needs to see that piece of information, okay? An example would be a parent registers a student at an enrollment center. As soon as the enrollment center completes that work, that data is available at the school that child was enrolled in. Right away, the counselor could actually build a student's schedule and actually notify the teacher, and a teacher will receive a notification that you have a new student that's going to be starting tomorrow. Okay, so again, it's all about accessibility and access to data in real time. I'm going to go ahead and log into our application right now. And what you're looking at right now is what all users will be greeted with, teachers as well as staff in the front office, administrators, even district level administrators as well. In the very front here, we see our district notices, and these are going to be just messages about Infinite Campus. Hey, the application is going down for a temporary amount of time for an upgrade, or something to remind you to do something at the district level. Below here, we have school notices or school announcements. And what school announcements are for, an example would be a principal will send out an announcement to all teachers saying that grades are due by Friday for report cards. That's just a good example there. There's also maybe the band's playing tonight at 7 o'clock, come out and support the band. At the bottom, it may be a little difficult for some in the back to see it, but if you can see that, this area is called process alerts. What process alerts are for is letting you as the user who just logged in know that you have an action that you need to take on something. It's a specific message to you or something that's a little bit more important than just an announcement. An example would be if a behavior administrator or someone in a building receives an electronic behavioral referral from a teacher. Okay, and that message would show in that process inbox. That behavior person would click on that referral and be able to take action from that point on. The left side is the index of the application. This, I am logged in right now as an Uber user. I have all tool rights turned on, but your list of tools will probably more likely be shorter than that. But the idea is to just give you a depiction of actually what all this Infinite Campus contain. It's not just data about the student, but it's also health information, it's parent information, it's transportation information, go down the list. We also have messenger tools. So I just wanted to be able to show you how much data we actually manage in one application, and that's what makes it real time. Okay? At the top, I have access to all schools right now, the way I'm logged in. Most users will only have access to the building that you're assigned to work in. If you're a district user, depending on what you do, either you have access to all schools in the district or you only have access to the districts within your cluster. Okay? To the left here, I'm just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to click on Campus High School. And to the left here are my years. Al mentioned data conversion, and we're doing a pretty good work at really trying to bring over as much data as we can that makes sense. So if I click this drop list here, this shows me just different pieces. So it's context sensitive, which means that if I was looking for a student that had an enrollment last year, I would have to go to 14-15 to see that information. However, if that student was in 15-16, I could search within a year as well. So the idea being that you have access to previous years of data if you need it or if you have permissions to see that information. This does not mean that the data warehouse is going away. This is the transactional system. The data warehouse system will remain in place for more sophisticated longitudinal data analysis for larger purposes. But at least if you were at a building level or even at the district level, and I want to see how many behavior events of a certain type took place between this year and last year across all my schools, I still have that data in the transactional system as well. Question? Excellent. The bell here means that these are just my notifications. These are a little bit different from the announcements. There are sticky notes, there are district announcements, and then there are school notices. And the bell are my sticky notes. Those of you that have Android phones, you're used to probably seeing this app switcher or this app drawer. In Infinite Campus, we call it the app switcher. Campus Community is our electronic online manual. And the reason we go electronic is because paper obviously is pretty expensive, but at the same time these days, as much as information changes, it's hard to really mobilize paper as it is to get it out to you electronically. For those that like paper, you can find an article, print it, and it's accessible to you right next to your computer. Just be mindful that if you do print it, you may have to print it again if information about what you printed changed, okay? Campus instruction is the application that teachers will have access to. This would be the replacement for grade speed, okay? And I'll go more into a little detail around that in a little bit, okay? I'm going to go ahead and go to student information, and as you can see under student information, there's going to be more information contained here around the actual academic performance for this child in this school. If I go to general, campus has a lot of different ways of searching. Okay, and I know you're used to your current system, and there's a lot of little tips and tricks that you've taught yourself over the years. Infinite Campus has those too. We do things like wildcard searches, such as we can use an underscore, and I can just type in M_L and see what is returned. And I have any student who has something in between an M and an L. Okay, if I wanted to go comma L, this is going to shorten my list a little bit more. So again, you don't have to know the full name of the student. I could just do comma, oops, Lydia. Okay, you don't even have to know the last name. All right. Advanced search gives me options to search by student number if that's what you're used to, or in this box over here to the right called Saved Filter. You have a tool, and I think you're used to using an SMS called Save or Quick Search. So this is the equivalent basically of Quick Search, but it has a little bit more functionality than just being able to do a quick search. However, the idea in this context is about the same. A saved filter with information for all students of a certain grade level, male, female, that are enrolled in this particular class. Save it, and it's available for you anytime you want it. Okay? I am going to pick on my favorite child, Miss Lydia. Okay? And remember, I'm in student information general, so I'm saying a large tab set that are really kind of filled with just general information about the kiddo. First, we have demographic information that's accessible to us, as well as, if I scroll down here, I see where the child lives, primary address and secondary address, and just below that I'm going to see a little bit more information around who actually lives with the child. At the very bottom, you notice that there are non-household relationships. So these are folks who actually do not live with the student, but has some sort of affiliation with them. This could be a doctor, this could be a social worker, emergency contact, grandparent, go down the list. But the idea is that to provide as much information about this student on one page. One thing to note about non-household contacts as a part of the data conversion process, we noticed when trying to build data around the household and who had a connection with the student, information wasn't as streamlined as we thought it was going to be. Depending on the school, some people manage data by putting the first and last name in the exact same first name field. So that way it's not a person anymore. You're just generalizing information using a person type field. The more messier the data got, we couldn't convert it. So the idea was that now we need to just focus on good data. And the good data that we found was using the has custody flag in your data. So for schools, how many schools, do we have school folks here? Raise hands, few maybe, yep. So if you want to assist, some of the things that we would recommend you do is extract from your system your parents or your guardians who has custody flag, take a look at those addresses and just try to make sure that the names are spelled correctly, the actual address is spelled correctly. If it's an apartment, make sure that the apartment number is in there as well, because if you have a group of students or families that live at an address that has apartments, if there's no apartment number, it thinks all kids live in the same dwelling because it's the same address. Make sense? Okay, so the cleaner that data is, the better the conversion results are going to be. All right? And for those of you that may have to do a little visit to the home, I click on map, and we get where we're going. Okay? I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on enrollments. Enrollments are just the general list of all the enrollments that the student has had. This is, again, a part of the data conversion effort as well. We're trying to bring over as much historical data about a student as we can. Inside the enrollment is just some general information about that student, in addition to some state reporting information and special ed data. So with that, I just want to say that Easy IEP is not going away, okay? We will be doing an import into Infinite Campus from Easy, but at the same time, Easy will remain your student management system for students with disabilities. Going to a schedule. We'll be actually building your 2016-17 schedules in Infinite Campus this year. Okay, so we're instructing all schools that they will be receiving training beginning the week of April 11th to start working with Infinite Campus to learn how to build their schedules in Infinite Campus. With that, once they do that work, this is just a good example of, this is a course number with a section number, name, and the name of the teacher, so on and so forth. Here we have an example of this is a grade book icon, which allows a principal or someone who has access to click on that grade book icon and see Lydia's academic performance in U.S. history. Okay, so it doesn't give a person access to a teacher's grade book, it's just a view about the student. I used to work in a school, Elk River High School in Minnesota, and they had Infinite Campus, and it was nice for me as a teacher to be able to log in and say, you know, this student is really struggling in my class, but I'm kind of curious, is it just me, or are they actually struggling in other classes as well? And this gives you the ability to do that. Okay? If I click on the icon, and this is going to give me a little detail about what's going on in U.S. history for Lydia. And we see we have an in-progress grade, and that's why it's yellow there. This means that as Lydia completes assignments and does her work and turns it into the teacher grades it, right? Everything goes through the regular format. This is just an indicator or prediction of where Lydia would be, where her grade would be, if it was reporting time for Q3. Okay? The nice thing about this is, if I needed to take some corrective action, if the student was struggling, I could do that, and I see where she's actually struggling. I see what assignments that student was struggling on as well. All right? Now, she has an A, but she has a hard time coming to school. Okay? So, don't judge her. She's a good kid. We break attendance down per period. As you can see, she had a rough first quarter. And this is per day, per period over here to the right. And if we scroll down here a little bit more, we see this is per class. Okay? Most folks who would get access to this tab, a lot of times districts would allow, or schools would allow their teachers to see this. That way, if I marked a student absent, on a particular day, I can verify that that information is there and accurate as well. The other thing is, a lot of times it's just kind of nice to know that if I have a class 5th period, I can come here and see if a student is either probably not going to be here today or something like that. Okay? One thing I forgot to mention, looking at a schedule. If I needed to print a schedule, it's pretty straightforward. Click on print, and this is just for one student. Now, we also have mass reports, obviously, where I can print out reports for the entire school, but in this context, we're just looking at a student. I am going to shoot over here to transcript. Any high schools? I saw some school people. Okay, high schools, good, great. So this is where transcripts land. Okay. Now, as a part of this is a part of the data conversion effort as well. When we review data, we're looking to make sure that these courses match the courses that are currently on a student's transcript file right now. The mark should be correct, as well as the GPA weight earned, and then the credit is in alignment with the category or credit type that it's supposed to be linked to. So those are just some of the things that we really want to make sure is accurate as you do data review. So your data quality specialists, if they haven't already, will probably reach out to you to ask you to help review some of these pieces of data. Questions at all? Okay, excellent. So far so good. I love it. Assessment data. We have had some conversations with your assessment and accountability folks, so at some point in time we'll be probably importing assessments data as well. WIDA, EL, SAT, SAT, all those kind of good things. Okay? Question? All right. Now, behavior. Mind you, Lydia still has an A average. Okay? Don't judge her. Rockstar kid, academically. So here we see 15, 16, and for those of you or certain folks in the district, if you came to a student's tab, you will be able to see historical attendance as well, behavior as well. So hypothetically, just playing it out, if Lydia had been a student in MNPS since kindergarten, every behavior record associated with that student would be found on one tab. And this is a part of the data that we're trying to convert as well, okay? So census data, we're looking at transcript data, behavior data, enrollments, so on and so forth. So we're trying to, again, give you that nice baseline start point. So when August 3rd comes, you can hit the ground running, okay? Excellent. Now, some of the things that I'm seeing here is submitted. You remember I talked a little bit about a person being able to submit a electronic behavior referral? So submitted means that I've submitted it as a teacher, hypothetically, and the behavior administrator or dean or administrator, whoever's going to deal with that, hasn't touched it yet. They haven't clicked on it or actually started to process or do the investigation for that event. Right now, it's just sitting in the queue is what submitted means. Once it's completed, ideally, what completed means is I've interviewed the student, I've dished out the assigned the behavior resolution, and the resolution is complete. So if it's a 3-day suspension, 3 days are up, and I can come back in and just make sure that there is no other action needed for this particular situation, and it's completed. In progress, pretty self-explanatory. The resolution has been assigned, but the resolution is not over, or the response is not over. And notice here, I do have responses here and not just resolutions. Did the student have to be restrained? Did the student have to be secluded? So on and so forth. And there's a difference between physical restraint versus mechanical restraint as well. Okay, question? All right, I'll talk a little bit more about behavior in a minute. With that, I'm going to go ahead and jump back over here for my high school folks under counseling, or a lot of people have actually asked about this. We have meetings, and this is similar to what you're used to as being S&I. Okay. The idea here is that if I have to create a meeting to address a situation with one student or many students, multiple students, I can do that. I can schedule this and actually send it out. I can see if the meeting, if I'm the owner, or anyone who has a meeting. This kind of gives me a good grid as far as everything that's going on in the building by way of a meeting. If I click on a new meeting, I can create a meeting for myself, or certain people, not all, certain people may have the ability to create a meeting for someone else. Okay, so it depends on how the schools actually want to handle this kind of stuff. But the idea here is I'll just simply put in a title, my location of where we're going to meet, and then we have a start and end date. And then and if you want to have a regularly scheduled meeting with a student about a particular item, you can do that as well. Now the difference is with Purpose, your S&I page currently, I would have to create a separate S&I entry if I was meeting for a student about more than one thing, correct? I don't know if I said that right. Okay. So if I had more than one purpose, I would have to have more than one entry. In Campus, I can say I met with the student about their truancy issue as well as their behavior issue. And if you notice, while I'm clicking items, they no longer appear in the list for me to select because I've already made them a part of my purpose. Okay? Now, if I see something that is not in the list that I want to meet with the student about, I'll just click Other and then type that in. One thing that was mentioned earlier in the week which was nice, was if you find a pattern that people are customizing the purpose a little bit more, then that's an indication that maybe something needs to be added to the purpose list. But this purpose list would actually match your purpose list coming from S&I. Okay? I will put in my meeting agenda, and then down here we'll just do my participants, and you notice I can do more than just students. I can do staff as well, and then others as well, meaning that I can meet with the student and the parents together. So if I go here, I grab my favorite child, and I click on Lydia. I can verify that's the right student. Yep, I'm looking at the right person. Add, and if you notice here, I can log that event on that student's file. We go from there. Outcomes are the same. I could do more than one outcome for the student. Okay? Now, really quick here, academic planning. Academic.
Showing the call log.
Sorry. Once that meeting is saved, I can log it on the student's contact log. And the laundry list of all activities that I've done with that student through the meetings will basically appear here. Now, if you had something that's a little bit more simple, where I just mailed something home or just had a quick phone call or something like that, I would just simply click on New, and I would go here. Date and timestamp is already there. Who did I talk to? And then the contact type. And then I would put in the notes the nature of that conversation. Questions?
So this meeting system is basically the counselor's way of keeping up with their data, or meetings they have.
Or meetings that they have, yes. Organized or not.
Okay.
Yes.
And the calendar, is it going with the meeting calendar? Is it going to their calendar? The counselors?
It sends a notification that you have a meeting. Yes, yes. So, and that's the nice thing is if you send it to a parent, it actually shows up to the parent on
You can mail out to the parent. I mean, you can go out.
They'll get an electronic, right. So it's not email, but it's an electronic notification on their portal. They see inbox notices as well.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Where was I? Oh, academic planning. So one thing, you see grad status here, or grad progress. When we originally designed this, we were looking at the graduation progress for a student. However, this has really evolved into tracking the academic performance of a student or progression of a student towards an academic pathway or even promotion to the next grade level. I've worked with some districts that just want to make sure that every student is in alignment with making sure they have enough requirements or academically performing at a level to make sure that they progress to the next level when the time comes. So when I click on grad status, I just get a really good depiction of everything that's going on with the student, and this is based on their current transcript record. Okay, so all that data that we're converting in, you will be able to hit the ground running with an academic plan and get a depiction of where a student is in a particular academic pathway. Okay? So if I click on mathematics, I see that my student has already earned so many credits already within the math category or math credit type. Currently, the student is in another trig class, and with successful completion of that trig class, they will earn 0.5 credits. Now, planned, they have not done this particular class yet, but once they take this class, that's how many credits they will earn. Now, plan comes from the next tab here called Course Plan, and this allows me to actually do the future planning for a student for 4 years. So if I was a 9th grader, I could actually put in 10th, 11th, and 12th and really map out the entire plan and make sure the student is in compliance with all the requirements for that particular pathway or graduation plan. Question? Yes.
Is that just a static plan, or will that translate into a future schedule? Or will we have to enter a new schedule?
It will. So the future items can be used as course requests for the next school year. Okay. So really quick here, I just wanted to show you the people function. On the summary page, you just saw some really light information around where the primary address was, where the secondary address was, things like that. Now, there is contact information, and that comes from this page. So again, this is the demographic information where it's managed. But if you scroll down here far enough, Infinite Campus has a built-in messenger tool to where its email is by default, and there is conversations within the district to maybe add a calling system. You already have a calling system, but to start school year, that's going to stay the same. Eventually down the road, maybe in phase 2 sometime, there may be a transition to using Infinite Campus, and it's a little bit more seamless with using those additional tools. With that, when we were showing you where the current address was, this is where this comes from, and I have no idea whether or not you guys have issues with people moving all the time, but we would be able to track the movement as they go from address to address. Okay? And just so, as we were talking earlier, this is an example of a bad address. 718 doesn't tell me very much, right? However, if you have, again, we track the way the data is built, that data cleanup around addresses is going to be essential to make sure that the right people are actually connected to the right dwelling. Okay? So that means parents and students have to have the correct address.
And if I may interject, essentially what we're doing with that last statement is we are tightening up the family security. Basically, the people who are related to a student also means those are the people who can access that student's information. That's one of the reasons we wanted to stop at the custodial rights, the has custody flag inside PowerSchool SMS, to make sure that we're shoring up that data as much as possible, making sure that you have the information that you need, but also that we are doing our due diligence to make sure that the right information is staying with the right people. So, I'm sorry, and you already said this, but that also means in cleaning up addresses, again, if it's a multi-dwelling unit, an apartment, or even a house that's being rented, there's an A side and a B side, we want to make sure that we have that apartment number field filled out with that A or B side, just to make sure that we understand. Same thing goes for email addresses and current phone numbers for those relationships attached to that student. Because we have the opportunity to generate an email or generate a letter that's going out to that parent, it's another reason for us to make sure that we stay on top of keeping up to date with the most recent email address, primary, secondary email address for a parent, and for their phone numbers. Now, obviously, for students, we're generating email addresses for them already. They're already a part of our system when they log onto a computer in their school. So we'll have that information coming over. We'll talk a little bit more when we get to the portal about what that means for parents.
Cool. Everybody okay so far? Okay, excellent. So really quick, I'm going to hit behavior. I'm going to do attendance real quick, and then I'm going to log in as a teacher and then show you what the student site looks like, okay? All right. When we talked about behavior referral, this is where it comes from. So a person will come in, click on new, and as you see, we can actually do both positive and negative behavior. So if you wanted to award a student for doing something good, we do have the ability to track that in Infinite Campus. Starting school year, student services, we're just gonna start with negative behavior for now. Okay? All right. Date, timestamp's already there. The context or the name of the incident. That's the one thing I want to definitely point out. We're not doing an event at the moment. We're doing an incident. So you're just doing a high-level description of what happened, the location it occurred within, and then the people here on the right are the ones who would receive that process inbox notification when they log into the system. So this list are my behavior administrators that will receive the referral. Okay? My location, so on and so forth, and then down here we actually have the event. Now, once you get to the event, this will be your MNPS list. Okay? That's what that will be. Once I select an event, then I go do my student search, and yes, I keep picking on Lydia. I'm so mean. Okay, and then as you can see, I can just continue to build this out. So I don't have to go find another student somewhere else and do another record. So right on the same record, I can just continue to add enough students that's affiliated with the bullying specific event. Now, if there was a drug violation or a weapons violation, then that's a separate event, which means that I would go back once I saved this. Just pretend with me. Once I save this, I would just go back and add an additional event for that and pick just the students that were a part of that particular event. So again, you can tell a story. So it's the incident in one event, or it's an incident in multiple events that occurred. Okay? The way that looks for the administrator is they just see a laundry list of all of the events that are in the system. And you see I have those that are in progress right here. I have those that are submitted. May have one that's completed. No, I don't have any that's completed. But the idea is I will be able to see them as completed as well. If I go here and click on an event that was submitted, I see all the details around that event, where it happened, and this is the incident information. And if I scroll down here, I see all of the offenders, and we can track offenders, victims, witnesses, reporters. MNPS can customize that list of roles. So that way you can actually say, really kind of tell the whole story. Who reported it, who was the victim, who was the witness, especially for those cyberbullying kind of things. You know, you want to know who was the person that was being attacked. Okay. Now, you also notice that I do have a separate resolution for each one of these students. So if I was to add an additional resolution, I will just pick the resolution from the list here. Date and timestamp is already there. And then I would pick the students that I want to affiliate with that one resolution. So everyone doesn't have to get the same thing. The beautiful thing about this is I'm doing one thing, however, each one of the records appear on the student's behavior tab without having to actually do it 3 times. Question? Once you have those kind of triggering events, we can go here and actually have a letter for that bullying event. And if it was a in-school suspension and this person was the offender or a participant, this is meanings that we can use the data in the system to generate a letter to say, if this happens, send a letter home. Okay? We can also do this by email as well. Okay, but if I think right now you'll be starting with the letters, and then the letters you can just print them out, put them in an envelope, and mail them home. Okay? Questions at all? Anybody? So far, so good. So this will be an easy switch over, right, from paper to electronic. Awesome, you guys are awesome. All right, I'm loving it. All right, we're going to finish up with attendance on this side real quick, and I'm just going to go straight to the attendance monitor. What you're looking at right now is based on that good work that the schedulers are going to do. All my teachers, all the departments that they're in, and the contact information for those folks. And here we see our periods across the top. And what you're looking at is every teacher in my school who has not taken attendance today. Okay? Green means that they have. Pink means that they have not. Okay?
So, Student Services has an attendance policy, and we all know about the unsubmitted attendance report, correct? This is it as a screen. So instead of having to, and you see a common theme here throughout the system, if there's something that you typically would need to execute a report now in PowerSchool SMS to then see what the next tasks are that you need to do, you would analyze the report and then go do something. There's typically a screen that allows you to do that and be interactive with it. So while we can still print an incomplete teacher attendance report here, we can still execute that, but we can also do everything directly from this screen. So with that, I just wanted to kind of keep building the crosswalks between what we're doing in PowerSchool now and what that means in Infinite Campus.
We're working on an act. It's a tall guy show. I tee it up, he slams it.
That better not hit the editing room floor.
Okay. Now, in situations where someone's going to be out of the building, we do have the ability to go down here to reports, grab a sub-attendance roster, pick the periods, pick the teachers, hit generate, and essentially have that ready for the temporary sub that comes in for that teacher. Essentially, they go here, absent, tardy, time in, time out, whatever comments. Sign it, and then send it back down to the office. Once the office grabs it, then I'm just going to go here to my classroom monitor, and I'm just going to click on that section, and I am going to say, you're absent, you're absent, you're absent, and you're tardy, and you are tardy, okay? And then you notice I can put comments in once I pick anything other than present. And then I save that, and I'm done. The nice thing about this is once you actually save the attendance, the parent, if they've downloaded the Infinite Campus mobile app, gets a pop-up notification on their phone, okay? So if you just drop the kid off and it's first period, and they're absent first period, they disappear somewhere between your car door and the front door. Okay. Once a record is recorded, they are just compiled here throughout the day. And what happens here is all of my kids, so if hypothetically Jillian here is first period and mom calls me to say, hey, she's sick for the whole day, then I'm just going to come here. The student is absent. And you notice all of those records were yellow, right? So whenever a teacher takes attendance, it will always be unknown. So you won't have the ability, a teacher wouldn't have the ability to say something is excused or not excused. Okay? All right. So if this student is out for the whole day, I'm just going to come here and we'll do medical excused. And mom said she's out for the whole day. We're going to do a fill down, and then we're going to save that. And what that means is if I'm a third or fourth period teacher, I don't have to worry about that student because when I look at my roster to take attendance, it's grayed out for me already. And that teacher would not have the ability to overwrite a mark that the office put on there. Okay, and that works the same way with behavior attendance as well. If you suspend a student for 3 days, that record is recorded on the attendance roster for those 3 days, and so when the teacher goes to take attendance, it's just grayed out and they wouldn't be able to change it. I've heard a school say that before. The teachers keep changing it, so. All right, questions about attendance at all, anybody? Okay. Good data, good data, good data, right? Awesome. So really quick, I'm gonna just say student services will probably be providing these letters for you as well. So these are my letters. I go here, pick a new letter, and you'll pick a mode that you want to build the letters based on. It may be period marks, it may be whole day, half day, it may be by course, but we'll just do period marks, for example. Absent, and if it's absent, unknown, or unexcused, we'll just say that's a 1. And then absent, and then we're going to do unknown, and that's also a 1. So you can get any combination of that 3 times. And that triggers a letter to go home. Okay? Question? Awesome. So now I'm just going to jump over here. Let's see. So now I'm logged in as a teacher. And as you can see, the layout is quite the same. We have an index on the left side. I have my workspace on the right side. And one of the nice things I have here is with my announcements, if I do a new announcement, I can send a class message. Now, this does not replace your Outlook. However, you don't have to keep email addresses in a different location either. Okay, if they're in the system already, I can go here and print do a class message, and using the system, because it is linked to your server here, we'll do a class message. We go down here, and I can just type in the message and then the body of what I'm sending out. But you also see I can do a grades message as well, meaning that I can actually send a failing grades notice to my parents based on the data that's captured in my gradebook. Okay? And last piece of a message would be I can send a missing assignments notice a teacher. And again, this is using data from my gradebook, so I don't have to do anything separate or special to send this kind of information out. Okay? Really quick, if I'm a teacher, this is what my attendance looks like. We see it defaults to period 6 because that's the time of day it is. All right, so it does follow the period schedule, and it will default to the period that you're currently in. Now, if I know I forgot to take attendance on period 2, I go back to period 2, I see my kiddos. As you can see, this is already done for me. I don't need to do anything. But I can just say save if everybody else is here. Okay, so that's how quick it is to take attendance, and I know I've taken attendance because I get a check mark there. Okay, teachers will only have a window of 24 hours to take attendance. If you don't take it that day, then it will have to be done by someone in the front office. Okay, those are some of the things that are different that I know you're used to, but again, all change is not bad, right? Excellent.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
For elementary school,
Yes, ma'am.
you don't have all these periods, are we consider period 1?
It will be 1 period for elementary because you take 1 period, and that period, the start and end time will be the whole day. Okay, question? All right. Gradebook. All right. Remember that in-progress grade we saw when we looked at that quick list of in the teacher gradebook from the schedule? That's where that comes from, is the in-progress right here. And this is going to be representative of what's going on over here with the assignments. Okay? When I created an assignment, it was pretty straightforward. I have the name. I can break the assignment out in groups if I wanted to. So if I wanted to have a group A, a group B, or group C in my classroom, I could do that as well. Assign date, due date in the future I could do, as well as if I actually wanted to send out an attachment with this assignment, I could do that using the upload function here. Or if I wanted the student to actually show me their work product to prove their knowledge, I can have the student actually submit work back to me electronically through the gradebook. And then down here, this is just saying that this assignment is going to go into the assessment category, and I'll just say how many points that assignment is worth. So when I'm here, I could go here and say, you know what? All students did very well on this. Everyone got an automatic 50. And I'm just going to go here and do field scores. And I'm just going to say everyone has a 50, and send that to all students, send that to only the students who don't have a grade already in the system, or send it to all the students that are empty but are here today. Okay, if you're absent, you don't get this 50 points. All right, so we're just going to give it to everyone and do a field, and there you go. Now, these tick marks over here, you heard me talking about missing assignments or something like that. This is what these mean. So this is turned in, this is missing, this is late, this is incomplete, cheated, exempt, and dropped. Okay? You notice my kiddo here has 50 points, but if I say that student cheated, see what happened to 50? If I hover over that, 0. Okay? We do not do minimum 50 in Infinite Campus, so your L&L division or department will need to come up with that procedure for your teachers with how they want to do a minimum 50 if that's a standard in the district. If it's not a standard in the district, then the product will just take over and just do a 0. Okay? All right. Some of the cool things over here with this Sparkline, if I click on Natalie, I see where Natalie is doing in the classroom per assignment that I've given her, as well as seeing where she actually falls with her peers on each assignment as well. Okay, and if I was meeting with Natalie's parents during school night or do a back to school night or whatever that is, I would just go here and do hide others and just work with that parent one-on-one to make sure that she has a clear understanding of the path her child is on. Question? Okay. I'm not going to dive into all the other pieces of the campus instruction, but I will point out that the other thing is, if you have your teachers that are out there that are curious about the product, they can actually design their room, for example, or seating chart in Infinite Campus and take attendance that way as well. Okay, a lot of people like to kind of just see those pods that they have set up. All right. And next thing, I'm going to just log out real quick and show you what a parent or student would see. Okay. And there we go. We have the district announcements, school announcements, and they have a process inbox as well if there are any messages that they need. Then we have the calendar with all of their assignments on it. And if I go to the 15th, I can click on that, and I see that we have 2 assignments. One maybe was a classroom assignment, and the other one was a work product that I wanted them to take home with them and bring back to me. So if I click on this worksheet here, I see the assignment details, all the things that when it was assigned, and the description of it that the teacher put on that assignment. And here is the attachment that I wanted the student to print out and fill out. And then once the student completes it, digitize it again, so scan it or something like that, to have that at home, or go to a library to scan it. So there's a lot of different ways kiddos can scan things these days. But then once you have that, attach it and upload it back to me, the teacher. Once you upload it, it's automatically flagged as turned in. The next thing I go down here, now if I wanted them to show a little bit more evidence of knowledge, the student response, type out how you got to this conclusion. Okay, so it depends on how sophisticated you wanted to get, especially with those IB kiddos and those honors and things like that. You can get really creative with learning management in Infinite Campus here. Okay, we're going to scroll really back up here real fast In addition to that gradebook view that the parents or students can see with history, again, we can just click on U.S. history and I see that information myself. However, I also have the envelope. All of your staff would have emails in Infinite Campus, so the parents could actually email them directly from looking at their schedule. If I click on the envelope, it'll just open up Outlook, and then I can shoot the teacher an email. I see how bad my student comes to school, but she's a really smart kid, though. Okay? And again, I'm not going to click through all of these, but you get the idea. So we wanted to just give you a wide range of things that Infinite Campus can do, and I think you're going to like it. Okay? So August 3rd, right? Everybody's committing to a green screen, right? Everyone's going to take attendance. Excellent. Yes. Yes.
Will parents and students be able to view transcripts, GPAs?
Will parents and students be able to see transcripts and GPAs? Absolutely. So all of the data that we're capturing on their transcript file, all of the data we're capturing on their academic plan, GPAs, everything would be available in the parent portal for view.
Okay. On the parent-student one, on the mobile app, if they're doing an assignment and they want to attach a file, can they do it from the mobile app? Or is that feature is only available if they do it from a computer?
Okay. Can parent or student attach a file from their mobile phone?
From the mobile app, yes.
Through the mobile app, yes. To submit it back to the teacher?
Right.
No. Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you all very much. And here's
All right. All right, we're in the home stretch. So, just doing a quick kind of tool mapping. We just went through a demo of Infinite Campus. We started off with campus tools, and for campus administrators and district administrators and school administrators, this is where you're going to spend the majority of your time. So campus tools is the equivalent of just logging into PowerSchool SMS as you do right now. Obviously, we talked about grade speed is going to go away, and campus instruction will be the new grade book. Parent connection has been our portal, so obviously parent connection will also go away, and this will become the new portal. So campus community down there at the bottom, we've already talked about. That is the online manual for Infinite Campus. You can reach it directly from the app switcher tool that you saw Kelvin talk about at the beginning of the demonstration. There's also campus learning, which is basically kind of like an online individual learning plan for each staff member. So what it does is it looks at the access rights that are called tool rights inside Infinite Campus, at what you have permission to do inside the system, and it generates an entire learning plan from top to bottom, where the top of it is, how do I log on to Infinite Campus? So it's something very basic that the things underneath it now depend on. So might end up being by section. In student general, here are the things that you need to know about that tab. Here are the things you need to know about attendance if you have those responsibilities, et cetera, all the way through. So that is one way to get self-help, professional learning on how you use the Infinite Campus application. It also, as you go through each of those modules, has basically a minor, not minor, but a mini assessment. So as you complete a section, it'll ask you basically, what did you learn? You have 3 opportunities to prove that you've learned what you just looked at. And if not, that might be an opportunity to go ask one of your experts, one of your teacher coach experts, or someone else inside your building. And if that is still not sufficient, then that might be an opportunity to sign up for another class that is available in SchoolNet to just shore up whatever knowledge you need around that particular area. So just kind of dipping right into the training plan then. Campus 101. So What we just went through and looking at a demo, Campus 101 is going to be something similar to that. It's going to basically talk to you about how to log on to the system, everything that you see in these bullet points here. A quick review of the navigation overview. It'll talk about campus community and campus instruction, and we talked about census. That's those addresses and relationships with students and parents, brothers, sisters, grandma, etc. It'll talk a little bit about how to do those wild card searches and student search, everything that you see up here. I won't go through the details. The bottom line is we want you to take the time to go. The collection of these bullet points equates to about 30 minutes worth of video time. So what we want you to do is do this before you walk into a training class. That way, when we walk in, we're not talking about, now, what is this thing again and how do I get on it? We're dipping right into the content that is specific to your job responsibility. So the target availability date for that video is this upcoming Monday, March 21st. It'll be available in Blackboard, and MNPS.blackboard.com, if I'm not mistaken, is the link to get into Blackboard. You use your same credentials that you use to log on to your computer, or PowerSchool SMS right now for that matter, and that will get you in. If you search for Campus 101 or Infinite Campus 101, it's going to take you right to the class in Blackboard that has the links to these videos. So we're going to do several different modalities of training: face-to-face training, online training like the Campus 101 video that we just talked about, and we've already talked about some of those supplemental resources like Campus Learning and Campus Community. I should also highlight that Campus Community also has other events that are outside of Nashville, like forums or webinars, or the Campus University, where it's basically another class setting, but it's not just Nashville. It might be literally other schools and school districts or teachers or counselors or whomever across the nation, where Infinite Campus is essentially hosting an event that might have a large swath of people that are connecting to that event. Sometimes it's just good to hear how someone else does it that is different from us. So through those utilities, that's how we're going to try to train the district. So that gets us into talking about, we have about 6,000 to 7,000 teachers and about another 5,000 to 6,000 or so staff members. So that's 10 or 11,000 people that we're trying to train. The logistic numbers just don't work out to try to do face-to-face training for everyone. That's why with this particular system, we're trying to, as a district, change the modality of how we do training, and this is in line with what the training department is trying to do through learning technologies, of offering more and more content online first. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. As we start talking about the training plan, and I'm sorry, actually, as we just kind of go through these tiers, that's basically what I was just starting to talk about. Tier 1 is online training. So basically, this is how we'll deliver most of the training. We're going to create basically subject matter experts in your building, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. Those are the people who are going to take that training forward into your building and train the rest of your staff. Tier level 2 are teacher and school coaches. So these are the people who are actually going to take that training back to your building. And finally, tier 3, if we've gone through the self-help, if we've gone through the teacher coaches, and through the extra tools that are available to those teacher coaches, if it's the grasping the concepts are still not quite there, then again we can go back to those face-to-face training events available at the Martin Center, or possibly by some other methods, depending on where we are. Does all of that make sense so far? Okay, so just to get right into what's happening over the course of the next few months. April and May trainings. These are for these are face-to-face trainings available for school administrators, master schedulers. If you remember, we talked about doing master schedules inside Infinite Campus instead of PowerSchool. These are going to be focused for those master schedulers to get in there and get your schedules done inside Infinite Campus. So this one in particular, essentially there's really going to be kind of 2 sessions going on there. A 4-hour session that's going to basically get you started. Here's what scheduling means inside Infinite Campus and set up the basic structure. And then there'll be another training that's going to be an 8-hour training, so all day, where at that time you're really going to be setting up your schedule. So it's going to feel more like a work session than it actually is just a training, but the goal is to walk out as complete as possible with your schedule, or at least as complete as possible with the understanding of how to do your scheduling. Does that make sense? So, teacher coach. Same, we just talked about that a minute ago. So essentially, this is a teacher champion. It might actually be a teacher, and it's preferred that it is a teacher. Someone who is who has either volunteered or as we've instructed, assigned by your principals to basically take the training back to your school and possibly during an instructional day, so not an instructional day, during an in-service day or some other type of professional development opportunity, take that back to your building and train your teachers how to do the basics of, in this case, campus instruction and a little bit in campus tools. So, in June, it's kind of more the same, continuing with administration and central office, but we add enrollment here. So there are some schools, we have enrollment centers that do the lion's share of enrolling students and getting that basic demographic information as we ingest a new student into the district. Our enrollment specialists basically will be delivering that training, especially for those magnet schools and charter schools who also do their own enrollment. We just want to make sure that everyone understands how to correctly get that information into the system. This others by stipend that you see here and on the next slide, depending on how things operate in your building, it may be necessary for someone who is, say, a 10 or 11 month employee to come back a little bit early in order to receive some of this training based on their responsibilities. So mileage may vary. This may or may not apply, but we have already informed principals that it may be necessary to provide a stipend for those who need to come back in your building. So that should be what is being incorporated into their budgets now. So in July, we switched gears a little bit. It's time to almost open up schools. So at this point, we're going to start looking at providing basically open labs that are kind of like a work session, kind of just similar to what we were talking about with scheduling earlier, master scheduling. If there's things that you just need, there's some new students who have come in that need schedules. We need to get some new students who have come in over the summer enrolled into the system. I'm not quite sure exactly how to do things, and I brought my paperwork with me. I just need somebody to kind of hold my hand for a moment and make sure that I'm doing this correctly. I just need to make sure that I'm feeling good about how to do these particular things, because these things are so key to making sure that that student has a schedule when they walk in the door, or how do I do that walk-in scheduling? If it's a brand new person, and we know that's going to happen, how do I do those type things? That's what those open labs are for. Almost all of the trainings will be done at the Martin Center. These open labs we're going to try to offer at other locations. We haven't nailed down those locations yet. But the bottom line is that we're going to try to make sure that we have multiple ways for you to connect with someone, an MNPS or Infinite Campus trainer, essentially, to look over your shoulder and make sure that that stuff can be as right as we can possibly get it before we open school. So all of these classes, as it says down at the bottom, will be available in SchoolNet the week of March 21st, which is starting next Monday. So if you go into SchoolNet now, you may actually see them if you start searching for Infinite Campus classes, but it's not going to allow you to register for them until Monday. And with that, this is really a review of those dates. So April through August is the training schedule that we just talked about. And I should probably pause with that to say that these trainings are geared towards the just-in-time information that you need right now. Obviously, this is a brand new system. This is a transition year. We're obviously trying to build up experts, but as we start this system, no one's going to be the ultimate expert. At these trainings, we're not trying to train you on every single thing that is inside Infinite Campus. We're trying to focus on those things that will help us to get the information correct and ready and available to open up school. As the year continues on, obviously we'll have new employees and we'll need to do refreshers, et cetera, so those classes will continue. And as we continue to add features into Infinite Campus, there'll be more classes that need to be offered. So obviously, this train will continue on, but the things that we're focusing on as we begin are the things that we need to open up school and continue school, obviously. So June 6th, at close of business, Power School SMS will be shut down. That's a couple of weeks earlier than we're typically used to. Now, we already talked about master schedulers having the opportunity to go ahead and put their schedules in Infinite Campus, so that will continue all the way up through June 24th. But when we talked about cleaning up addresses and separating names that were actually all in the first name box with contacts and all of that stuff, June 6th is your date. That's the deadline. That's when we want to make sure that that data and any other data has been cleaned up inside of the system. I think we mentioned it earlier, but if they haven't already, your data specialist may be reaching out to you, inquiring about some of the things that we found or things that we perceive might be data that's a little bit suspect, and if we have the opportunity to clean it up before June 6th, that's the opportunity that we might be reaching out just to make sure that those things are done if they haven't already done that. July 11th is the first day that Infinite Campus comes up online for everyone. So that's also coinciding with the scheduling cleanup, essentially those open labs for scheduling and enrollment that we were referring to earlier in the training plan. And finally, August 3rd, we open up school. So we've talked about communication. We've looked at a demonstration of what Infinite Campus looks like. We've talked about the training plan, and we've gone over some key project dates. So really, that's all the content that we had. If you have any additional questions, we'd love to try to answer some of those right now. Does anyone have a question or a comment? Well, all right. Well, overall, what do you think about the system? Yeah, I saw some hmms and some oohs and ahs the whole time. So, well, with that, we thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Again, continue to check the intranet site for updates on information. We'll try to keep that up to date. The questions that we asked here and all the others will continue to become frequently asked questions. If you didn't get a chance to sign in when you walked in, please do that. There's also a one-sheeter that's next to the sign-in log that most of you, I think, have, but a lot of those key dates and other information, including those links that we talked about to get to that information, is also on that sheet. And with that, have a wonderful weekend.
That's